Do you want to do a podcast? We make a darn good team. It always goes without a hitch. Let's head to Twitch and go start up the stream. Do you want to do a podcast? It's the Nerd Glasses Podcast. Let's start now. Hi everyone and welcome to the Nerd Glasses Podcast. Come?
All right, I'll do my own bits myself.
Oh wait, no silence.
We're doing it. Get off the road.
So Dave,
Yes, Boater.
today I want to talk a little bit about books, and actually starting off with, I picked up a book about I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Honestly, I didn't get that far in the book. It was paperback and the spine was cracked. It just, couldn't read it.
Boo!
Hi everybody and welcome back to the Nerd Glasses Podcast. I'm Boater.
I'm Dave Van.
And yeah, I do want to talk about books, but I didn't pick one up on whatever the practice of being a chiropractor is about. But a paperback book with a cracked spine is awful. And just, bleh. Anyway.
Yeah, don't check my book collection then.
Hello, more like rigor mortis. Hello, Vladdy, and hello, everybody else in chat. I'm going to talk about books really quick on this half the table. Then I'm going to kick it right over to Dave because there's a lot of video game stuff to talk about. But first, Dave, I want to start off really quick with happy book birthday to Harrow the Ninth.
Very
This
nice.
book came out today. It is the sequel to my favorite book of 2019. I don't know if it's my favorite book of 2020 because I'm not a bookseller anymore and I'm not paid to have opinions like that. But it's still a really good one. It's also weird because I read it in 2019. I read it last year when we got a really, really advanced copy. But I'm excited to read it again. Again, the first printing of the hardcover has the beautiful black pages that Gideon did. You see it stacked on top of my hardcover of Gideon, as well as the paperback of Gideon the Ninth, because that had extra stuff in it. I own 3 copies of that book. It's only a shame it's not 4. Harrow is kind of chiropractor-y. Well, sort of. It has to do with bones. And it's a cracking good time. Okay, so... Also, over the weekend was the announcements of the Hugo Awards. Hugo is more or less... I don't know if it's sci-fi and fantasy or just sci-fi, but it's more or less... I'm pretty sure it's just sci-fi. It's written works, awards for written works. Mm-hmm. And this includes things like screenplay. Mandalorian's episode 8 was nominated, but did not win. And I realized that I own a somewhat decent amount of books that ended up winning, which means that
Nice. My
sci-fi tastes are apparently basic. I'm not sure what it means, but it means, hey, I read some of the good ones last year. The winner of Best Novel, while Gideon the Ninth was nominated, it did not win. That honor goes to A Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martin, which I really, really enjoyed. I mean, my Twitch name comes from Gideon the Ninth. It says more like rigor mortis.
Demon Dragon.
Boater, that basic book bitch. I added a word for you. It works. So I'm going to just really short about a couple of these books. If you have questions, please ask me. I'll elaborate. But otherwise, shut up, book boy, and get to the video games. So Memory Called Empire is based around a situation where there is an intergalactic empire, and there is like a kind of space station that is their own tiny nation on the edge of that empire that hasn't been folded into the empire proper, because they have a certain kind of cool technology that the empire wants, but can't invade to take because it would be denied them, whatever. So it's very politically.
I love that storyline element of we need to take thing. but we can't have Thing because they'll destroy Thing if we take it.
Yeah,
like, love that.
And yeah, it's like, we want Thing, so we need to be very nice to you, and maybe we'll get Thing. So it's all done through political machinations.
Speaking of which, follow here on Insane Games TV, by the way.
We won't deny you Thing if Thing is cool broadcasts and plenty of personalities here on Insane Games TV. The main character is an ambassador to the Empire. There's basically no combat. There's some like running. Oh no, there's combat happening. I'm the type to run away. Like, you know, it's not, oh, I'm gonna, you know, do cool combat or magic or anything like that. No, yeah. It's interesting because, you know, when you read a book and you want to be like the protagonist, you read.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It's like, hey, I want to be that cool space marine, you know, going around shooting stuff up. I want to be that awesome necromancer or the sword fighting cavalier. I want to be Godzilla.
I don't want to be Godzilla in this particular novel, but I would love to be in a different one.
This is like, wow, I really want to be an ambassador to an interstellar empire and go to the Emperor's poetry slam. What? Yeah, it's weird because, like, I wanted to be that character, but that character is an ambassador. And I'm like, you made that exciting for me. The author is someone who's, before writing her debut novel, which is Memory Called Empire, she was a scholar of, like, Babylonian city planning.
Okay.
And, like, that knowledge shows in the creation of the capital city of the Empire. So, really fun. Really nice. Is that Godzilla book hiding in the back?
The Godzilla references have two-folded now, not just the PS4 game. Next
week it'll be a Gundam book hiding in the back. Okay, so that's Memory Called Empire, won Best Novel. Best Novella went to This Is How You Lose the Time War, which is co-written by Amael El-Motar and Max Gladstone.
Nice.
And it's told from the perspective of two different operatives from two different sides of this war that goes up and down through time. And most of it, like, there's a couple bits that are like, oh yes, these operatives are discussing, you know, while Caesar's getting assassinated over there, and then, all right, well, our turn. But for the most part, it's all, like, made up far future and whatever like that. And each chapter is told first from the perspective of one of the agents, and then a letter that another one leaves for them. First as, like... First, like, taunting, where it's like, oh yeah, here's, you know, this letter that's here, and then eventually, like, and the pattern of spots on the seal that they hunted while they were under deep cover is this thing, whatever. The letters get more complex, and instead of taunting each other, they eventually realize that they are the only two that are at all competent in this thing. They are a level, I mean, the others are competent, but they are so far above that they get respect for each other, then they begin to fall for each other. It is a romance. And I love it. So, This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amael El-Motar and Max Gladstone. Winner of Best Novella. It is great. It is out in paperback now, but again, I have hardcovers because I used to work at a bookstore, so I got them cheap, and now I've been ruined.
All I can picture, by the way, when you mentioned the fact that one will be in a place and there'll be a note speaking past tense to them, like, here's what I already did, you idiot. Mm-hmm. Like, one of them goes into a room and is like, oh my god, the craft table's still open. They're eating this and they're like, I farted on the cold cuts, damn it! Like,
I mean, like, one of the early ones is very much like, all right, cool, I'm gonna get this thing from the computer, and then there's just like a haha, I was here first.
No, do it properly. A haha.
You didn't say the magic word.
One of these days, one of our streams is going to just be that. It'll be us hanging out in chat doing the program, but the video is just going to be Nedry going, you didn't subscribe to the channel.
Okay, so those are, like, you know, the two headliners for Hugo, and there are a lot of others as well. I could list those off, but let's see. I will note that they had a award for Best Artist, and the winner of that was I didn't write that down because I'm an awful person. I can look that up.
Actually, we'll go to the Kraken.
Hooray!
While you talk about another topic.
Okay, cool. We'll come back to the artist one. Basically, I looked at what the artist winner had done, and I didn't recognize, like, any of the books that they had worked on. Tommy Arnold, who did Gideon the Ninth, Harold the Ninth covers, was nominated, but again didn't win. And then Best Young Adult Book, I haven't read this yet, but it is called Catfishing on Catnet. and it is basically where a chatbot AI in this Share Cool Cat Photos forum has gained sentience. I think created the Share Cool Cat Photos forum, but basically, program that was once a chatbot becomes sentient, and ends up more or less helping out people through their lives, including the protagonist. Again, I haven't read this, but from what I remember reading in the review that made me pick up the book, that it's like, hey, here's a protagonist that is suffering with depression. Mom is very flighty, moves all around the country because, oops, life went bad here, time to move 3 states over. And just this girl has no tether to anything except this online forum. And so this chatbot that knows her through that, and of course is able to reach other bits of the internet, is trying to do what she can to help.
Was it the aimbot Smarter Child? Please tell me it was the aimbot Smarter Child. I would love to hear what that bot would say after all the things all of us have collectively done to it.
I haven't read it. I don't know. Do you remember when Microsoft made like a chat bot or a Twitter bot or something, and then within a day within a day it became the worst like alt-right Nazi thing before alt-right Nazi was fashionable?
Yep, it certainly did take the collective knowledge of the Western online world, and it found Hitler and Southern pride.
And then, thank you for dropping that in there. The winner of the artist one was John Piccaccio, I believe is how his name is pronounced. I could be wrong there.
Pistachio.
Again, unfortunately, I don't know what works he did that would have gotten him nominated for it. I looked at his gallery. Gorgeous stuff. I absolutely love it. None of it I recognized. Again, like Tommy Arnold, I know did Gideon and Harrow. I got prints of those. But like John's stuff looks great, but I didn't recognize whatever it might have been on. And then so there were other there was a lot of cool categories. Congrats to all the winners of the Hugo this year. It's in genre fiction, at least in science fiction. It is the big award. And it was cool to see that I recognized so many of the ones that had gotten it, and enjoyed them. And I do recommend, again, for something that is so different. A Memory Called Empire is great to read, and This Is How You Lose the Time War, absolutely recommended. So, and then the last stack of books I have here is just that. Remember when I mentioned the book about the YouTuber witch hunter?
Yes.
Its sequel came out a few weeks ago. I Come With Knives.
Very nice.
That is by S.A. Hunt. The first book was Burn the Dark. Second book, I Come With Knives. And I enjoyed the first book. I haven't gotten to the second one yet because I'm behind on my reading. I think the last book over here is Don't Pay It Any Mind. It's a light novel that is kind of garbage, but I still enjoy it. So
it's porn. Don't worry about it.
It's not. It's not. The girl is definitely underage. It's not porn. Anyway, guys, how about them video games?
So, speaking of falling over ourselves...
Thank you for indulging me for talking about books and how I decorated my half of the table today.
So, of the books we are currently presenting on here, not including this one.
No, by all means.
I mean, it's less than $10 at any bookstore you're going to find it at.
There is nothing wrong with a nice, cheap mass market book. I've got plenty of that I've come back and read like 10 times, things I got at the dollar store. Not everything is going to be this high literature. I'm more than happy with some of the cheap stuff I've gotten.
So, of the books that you mentioned that were nominated during... Let's do award season mentionees and things like that.
Yeah.
Of the 3 books you have here, which one would you recommend to a regular of a streaming network that likes a dating show, a show where a dude talks like a pirate for 4.5 hours, 2 nerds talking about shit, a dude that says vroom vroom bitch and then runs through people at Daytona? Which of these books goes with that audience?
Oh God. Honestly, probably Gideon the Ninth is the one that's easiest to recommend to that audience.
Does it cast a wider net than...
I think for people that enjoy the hectic variety of crap that we have on this channel, like I can't go to people that follow all of the different things, people that do 2v Tuesdays and Retro Wednesday and all these different things, and say, yeah, you should totally read this book about being an ambassador in an interstellar empire. That's a hard one to pitch. You should totally read this one on time-traveling love letters. A little better, But I don't know how much of the audience would be turned off by it's a romance. Really? I don't know. No, go with Gideon the Ninth because it's got swordplay, it's got magic. It's basically the author took the stew of all the cool things that they like, and then cooked that up. Harrow the Ninth just came out, but I can't recommend it on its own. Gideon the Ninth is a mystery, and Harrow the Ninth is a mystery that you don't realize is a mystery unless you've read the first book to know that something is weird.
Oh.
Like, Gideon the Ninth is a closed-room murder mystery. Whereas Harrow the Ninth, I can't even tell you what kind of mystery it is. You can take it totally straight if you read it on its own. But if you read the first one, you're like, wait a minute, something's weird, and I have to figure out what it is.
Nice.
But yeah. Gideon the Ninth. It's got swords, bones, magic. It is a sci-fi thing, even though if you would think that all that would be fantasy, because they've got spaceships and stuff like that. It's fun. Again, not for everybody. With respect to Demon Dragon, who could not get past the tone of the opening few lines, which I know that I've read on here before. In the myriadic year of our Lord, the 10,000th year of the King Undying, kindly Prince of Death, Gideon Nav packed her sword, her shoes, and her dirty magazines, and she escaped from the house of the Ninth. Goes on to talk about how she left her handcuffs on her pillow like a hotel mint, which is like, does she know what a hotel is and the practice of leaving mints on the pillow? It's a little abstract, so if you can get past that kind of thing, it's great. If not, I totally understand the tone's not for everyone. Cool, I've talked for books for 15 minutes. Dave, give us some video game stuff.
So, speaking of falling over your words and yourself, if you play Animal Crossing, you will notice that they've just recently re-added a favorite mechanic of mine, which is that if you're running around your island, you can in fact now eat shit again, and I cannot wait for it. They also added a balloon mechanic, where it's a tool you run around with, you run with the balloon.
Yay!
You are statistically more likely to eat shit while running around with the balloon.
Sorry, I just watched my fall on that. You can also, you can get a King Tut mask, and you're gonna fall every, 3 steps.
Well, that was in the original Animal Crossing. You could get cursed, and you had to get it uncursed.
Yeah, that's because, luck was a mechanic in earlier games, and hasn't been up to now in New Horizons. But with the addition of tripping, and the fact that things affect your probability of tripping, it's like, luck is coming back, which I think is still a little bit hypothesized. It's not confirmed, but it's exciting because, it's stuff that could switch up your day-to-day a little bit. I realized I haven't played Animal Crossing for the past 2 days, and I have a little bit of anxiety about that. I'm just gonna wait a month, and then I can catch a cockroach.
Take this as a reminder, folks. Drink lots of water, sleep 8 hours a night, check on your fucking Animal Crossing towns, because they go absolutely bananas without you. Speaking of things...
Can't step out the door, tripping over weeds and flowers everywhere. and again, I think it's a month. If you don't walk into your house in a month, then cockroaches spawn. Ooh. Fun!
So, speaking of cockroaches, Ubisoft's in the news again recently. And my god, have they fully waggled their ass at the collective world by acknowledging and calling themselves in a press release woke. So that aside, they are an evil they are in fact a AAA evil corporation and they used the word woke in a press release. All right, okay, boomer. But the other reason they are in recent media is not just because they've been hiding their sexual harassers and things like that. We've talked about that on past podcasts. But in a positive spin, they've managed to catch themselves. I have such
anxiety right now when you're like, Ubisoft's in the news again. I'm like, what have they done now?
They've managed to catch themselves a little bit of a lucky break in the news week, that they aren't the ones that have screwed up most. More news on that coming later in the program.
Wow, when the best thing you can do is not fuck up as bad as the other. Well, frankly, that's kind of what AAA publishing is nowadays.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
For a while, Ubisoft was doing it, not fucking up as bad as the other guy.
So, Ubisoft recently confirmed that Splinter Cell and Beyond Good and Evil will be pairing with, for the Splinter Cell one, it's a Ubisoft and Netflix pairing. For the Beyond Good and Evil series, they're going to be pairing up with the Detective Pikachu director, Rob Letterman, and they're going to be making a series based upon the intellectual property from that.
Okay.
I'm more excited, honestly, about the Splinter Cell because I want some more Sam Fisher. Like,
So this is going to be a produced television series that's going to be on Netflix?
yes.
Okay. Interesting. I actually, I tried to get into Splinter Cell, but when I did that, it was literally at least 15 years ago, and I wasn't of the temperament for a stealth game at the time, the one time that I gave it a shot.
And the stealth was not that good. Metal Gear Solid always did it better in its comparative eras. Just saying.
Okay, that's fair.
Speaking of Metal Gear Solid did it better, July 27th, 2020, Metal Gear Solid 5 had an event happen that was triggered by players. This game is now over 5 years old, and this event triggered on the PlayStation 3. In the online game, if anyone's played Metal Gear Solid Online, first of all, it's awful. Don't. But there's a counter on the top, and it reminds you how many nukes collectively are online on your platform.
Oh, I saw something about this, but I didn't actually read into the article.
So, I was super excited about this one. It accidentally triggered on the PC in 2018. I was heartbroken because I didn't want people to get it. But Kojima wrote a specific cutscene featuring your characters and the universe that you had created based upon the fact that all less than 100 nukes still exist on the PS3 version of Metal Gear Solid Online.
Okay.
Which is awesome because there's not that many players left, which is also probably how they were able to do it. But congratulations to the PlayStation 3 Metal Gear Solid 5 universe. You have done nuclear disarmament and you have done a service and done Foxhound proud. There are so many other things, and I'm so overstimulated and excited. Spotify landed.
This page. It's lots. There's lots written here. I mean, there usually is, but it's a little more chicken scratchy. There is the excitement just emanating off the page.
So
I need hand sanitizer for all that excitement.
No worries. So, short topic. Spotify landed the entirety of the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack. You're welcome. Get listening.
Holy, that is a lot of CDs. Can I say, because
yes.
I wanted to get the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack. It turns out, here's just the Seatbelts album. Then there's blue and red as full episode scores, basically. There's a lot.
There's a lot of very good music. Start listening to it now and now. Not yet! After the program, after the Citadel.
That is some of the best anime music. There was an Onion article or something where, guy looks for jazz tries to find jazz that he likes for years and eventually says, maybe I just like anime.
Tis true. I wanted to touch base on something we talked about last week, and I know Boder and I got kind of excited about this, that Fox was going to use the Unreal Engine to digitally impose fans into the stands. Demon Dragon, that is some of the best anime music, and a heart. You are entirely right with my book, as you always are, but I highly agree. So I watched baseball on Fox this past week, Boder. You know when a video game first comes out and bugs need to get patched? It's literally that. There are audience members clipping through the players in the dugout. It's some of the best stuff, and I highly recommend you look it up. But they need to go back, and there needs to be a MLB on Fox 1.0 patch to fix the audience.
They do that Assassin's Creed Unity thing where it's just the teeth and the eyeballs, but none of the skin rendered.
Unfortunately, nothing so terrifying, except for the fact that, remember how I said they were going to empty the audience out?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a miscommunication in the truck definitely happened, because middle of the fifth inning, just all of a sudden, 3/4 of the people were just gone. Just gone. And I literally, I'm watching here in the store, and I literally had a moment of duh! What the hell happened? Did a driver crash or something? No, they're working out the kinks. Hopefully you get a patch out there. Hopefully you can fix this for us. And I don't know what company they're going to outsource it to. Just make sure you don't make the interns do it.
They didn't want to watch baseball anymore. They saw how bad the audience looked, and they're like, we're not here for this. I'm out.
What do you mean it's not a Yankees game? I'm out. I'm out of here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, speaking of
Wally
patches, allegedly Amp Slayer wanted me to tell this one because, Boater, he knows just how much you absolutely, in the deepest pit of your heart, love Call of Duty Warzone.
Okay.
They are having a patch go live today.
Flattest okay ever.
Today.
Okay.
If you're getting it on PS4, it's 36 gigabytes. On top of the things, if it's on Xbox One, it's 49.8.
Oh my god.
And if you're on PC, it's 54.2 gigabytes.
Fuck you, Activision. Fuck you. What do you think? My console is just to play this one fucking game? No! God, you have 300 gigabytes of it right now. Half of these consoles only have a 500 gig hard drive.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the stream, and thank you very much for coming in.
Sorry for my potty mouth, but also not sorry.
But, yeah, it's been super interesting, but Amp Slayer wanted me to remind all of us that, fortunately, after this patch, you are able to downsize the game to less than 100 gigs.
Yeah, but don't you have to download everything first and then? Yeah.
Yes, you do.
So you need to delete a bunch of games off your hard drive to download 250 gigabytes, then to ditch 150 of it. That's the worst optimization. And they just don't care. Activision thinks that you're just playing Call of Duty. Let's be honest. A lot of people are.
There are a lot of gamers out there that only play the Call of Duty.
Call of Duty and Madden.
Yeah, boy. So, and which we'll be talking about in a minute too. So, the funny thing is,
guest comes over. Why do you have so many Xbox Ones? Well, that one's for Call of Duty, and that one's for Madden.
Why is there one over in the corner? That one's for Recore. We don't talk to that.
It's this awesome thing where you need one console per game.
So,
how are we going to afford our avocado toast when we have to keep buying consoles for our games? I mean, actually, consoles that allow the use of external hard drives are a thing. You get a 5 terabyte external and plop that in there. Like $100, get it.
So,
it's still awful.
Going back to what we talked about last week on it, rumors about things, we can confirm. The stadium rooftop, they have raised the roof with explosives and now it's open tapped. The train station will be opening up. A freight train will now be going in a large loop. It will be a mobile part, and you will be able to fight on it.
So that patches today?
Yes.
Okay, Dave, you'll have to play it and let me know how shootouts on top of the train work, or if it just never actually gets there, which is super frustrating.
I will have clips for next week. You can now ascend the side of large buildings from the outside.
Okay.
There is a new Warzone Mini Royal, which will lower the number of people and lower the amount of time you're in the lobby, even though there's not many. Weapon rotations.
Hold on, is the Mini Royal a smaller map, or is it like, oh yeah, cool, there's only 50 people on this map that's 50 square miles?
I have a feeling
because
that
the
it's
Warzone
going to
map
be...
is enormous, because it's what, 200 people
Yep.
drop?
Yep, they're going to be cutting the map down, and that's where you start to land.
So instead of the... I forget what they call the circle. It's not the storm like it is in Fortnite, but I'm just going to use the storm.
Yeah.
Like, instead of it starting out as whole map, it's going to already be starting out as, like, one quadrant of it.
Yes.
And that's cool, too, because, like, one of the cool things that Battle Royale games do is that, although it's on the same map, it changes every single game.
Yep.
Because of where the circle shrinks to. But the start can be pretty similar, and if you're one of the first 25% that are knocked out, you're not going to notice a difference game to game. By starting the game with a different section of the map each time, that's going to offer that right from the get-go. That's kind of fun.
And then they're going to be rotating some weapons in, some weapons out, and I'm looking greatly forward to that game's meta continuing to change. And I do hope that our fellow hosts here on Insane Games TV that do stream it enjoy and take advantage of those updates.
So, Dave, you've said Recore a couple times tonight, at least once on stream, a couple times before it.
Yes.
And now that we're half an hour into the program, I want to talk about the other thing that I actually brought to the table, and that's voice acting. So this past week, I started playing Halo Wars 2. I know that I'm like 3 years behind on it, but okay. I really enjoyed the first Halo Wars game. It was a great job of bringing strategy to console. It was done by Ensemble Studios that did Age of Empires, and then was promptly shut down by Microsoft because
Because we can't have nice things.
So Halo Wars 2 was done by Creative Assembly. It's still done well. I prefer the mechanics of the first game and such, but it did this thing. Wow, I really hucked that. It did this thing where there were 3 main characters in the first game. Spoiler alert, one of them died. The other 2 have been recast as their voices in Halo Wars 2.
Isn't that a jarring experience?
So Captain Cutter, who was like, I think he's supposed to be like in his early 60s or something, and he has this like, he's gray, has a mustache, and he's got this very, like the voice acting is very full of presence. He's this old guy that's been doing war for a long time and has the cool confidence to command whatever.
Yeah.
Works so great. His new voice actor is Gideon Emery, age 45. And they did this thing where they patterned the appearance of the voice actors, the appearance of the characters after the voice actors, which isn't unheard of. It's becoming more popular. But the thing is that they took this 45-year-old guy and then aged it up a bit, but he still sounds a little too young. He doesn't have the same presence. Of course, the face is completely changed, which sucks. They did something similar with Professor Anders. They recast her. She is now voiced by Faye Kingsley, who voiced Faith in Mirror's Edge Catalyst, as well as numerous other roles. And again, changed her face too. I prefer the original voice actor, but it's not as visceral. It's more of a subjective thing.
Yeah.
And then this isn't a recast, but it is a new character. Dave, I thought you would enjoy this. The AI character Isabel is voiced by Erica Soto, who voiced Jewel in Recore.
I'm sure, Boater, you don't just get a pulsing migraine every time that robot starts to talk.
To be honest, because she wasn't recast, she's the character I like the most. Because also, like, for Captain Cutter, like, in cutscenes he's not as bad, but then during gameplay, his is the voice that's like, oh, it's Scorpion rolling out, or whatever, like, Scorpion has arrived, we've lost a unit. And he's saying this all in the same way that, like, an announcer in a game would say it, rather than as the character of this grizzled starship captain.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like the same voice used in the cutscenes. And it might not be, because there's a second voice actor that's credited for the character, but I think it's just multiplayer, but I don't know. They're not very clear about that. But it's garbage! Instead of, like in the first game, if Anders said something, then it at least sounded like her character. It's not something in character, while it's still something informative. Whereas this is like, heavy rolling out, or something like that. And then just the last voice actor I'm going to mention is that the big bad of the game, the grunt chieftain Atriox, is voiced by John DiMaggio.
Yeah. You realize how many intellectual properties are screwed once he dies, right? Like,
well, part of his thing is that he does impressions pretty well too, because he's picked up a lot of when the voice actors pass, and he'll do that. So there will be another. Yoda looking up as he's bathed in the wash of the X-Wing's glow. There is another. Wow, I slammed the spine on that. Yikes.
Well, it sucks that company got closed.
Ensemble Studios was great. All right, cool. Dave, back to you.
So,
thank you for letting me yell about voice actors for a little bit.
Actually,
Dave, I'm happy to be here.
When you messaged me about voice actors, I did realize something very fun. If you watch my personal play of Ghost of Tsushima, you will not get this little caveat. But if you play the game,
you're playing in Japanese language with subtitles?
So if you play the game dubbed instead of subtitled, you will notice not main characters, but background characters sound an awful lot like Nappa and Goku and Vegeta. And it's because Funimation has the licensing for a lot of these things. Okay. And so, why not go with what works? And so, the lead voice actor for a lot of your favorite DBZ characters is in fact in that game a lot.
Wow.
I did a quick bit of running around and killing a lot of side characters, and I realized that he did so much work for that game.
Actually, I noticed, too, also in Halo Wars, the role, I didn't write it down for some reason, but the role of Alice 130 is played by the voice actress of Asajj Ventress from Clone Wars.
Really?
And sometimes it's just so much, oh my god, that is totally her. It's great.
I don't know about you, but I always find it, for voice acting, comforting when I recognize a voice, but it doesn't take me out of the character they're doing.
Yes.
Mark Hamill is a perfect example of that.
Most of the there's a couple times where like I hear one and I'm like, nope, that's so and so. Like that's Nolan North again.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Nolan North has such a boring ass voice that it doesn't take me out. But you know, sometimes you notice a voice and you're like, when I recognized Elias Tefexis when I was playing Homeworld Deserts of Carrick, and it was like, oh shit. Or no, I was playing BattleTech. That's where I recognized it from. I was like, oh well, that like. I stopped paying attention to what I was doing because I was like, I know that voice. And now it's like, okay, it totally works, but it's for a while it's like, that's Adam Jensen.
My favorite one had to be that our friend Emma and me and her were watching a Godzilla movie because I always subject my friends to have to watch those at one point or another. And
I've been spared so far. I don't know if he's saving up that juju for something.
We also
big.
Haven't necessarily had like a hey, let's watch a movie. It's always you and I like
let's
go light something on fire and then run around it. Like so
we haven't done that yet. We're usually recording Let's Plays. We're really behind on Prey, dude.
Well, maybe Boder doesn't realize it, but Steph knows. Steph recognized. Okay. So we were watching one of the Godzilla films, and I realized in the credits, George Takei was just in there, and I was like, "There's no way." So he's
another one that
we rewound the movie, and it's real bad because you can see that he was not casted to be important, and so there he is, just I don't know, sir. Like I was like, oh god, you probably got paid for only 2 days of this, and you read for 90% of the background characters.
Oh boy, yeah, like wasn't he? He was in like Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yes, he was.
As a single episode
in fact,
character.
You'll
whatever.
Be hard pressed.
He shows up in a lot.
You'll be hard pressed to find a popular culture voice actor or person that wasn't included in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, this is true.
They did a very good job of giving voices to the people that don't necessarily get voices, casting characters, an equal representation. But then also sprinkling in George Takei, Mark Hamill, Mick Foley, and a bunch of other very popular names and people that made me go, ee.
Yeah, one more reason that Avatar: The Last Airbender is some of the best television ever produced.
It's now streaming live on Netflix.
Yes, Netflix. Remember when we talked a week or two ago about Legend of Korra coming to Netflix this week?
Pretty sure it's this week.
Tomorrow? August 5th is in my head?
That's today.
No.
Well, I'm done with work, so it's today. It will be today.
Soon. TM.
Soon. Speaking of moi, you know, Boder, I found out that my arch nemesis, my greatest enemy, and the biggest failing in my gaming career,
Dr. Horrible,
is coming to the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 as a PlayStation exclusive, and I cannot believe and will not stand that Sony has allowed Microsoft to not have to share in this murderer. That's right, Boder. I know you're thinking what I'm thinking. Marvel Avengers is releasing second quarter of 2021, and that evil, rancid bastard Spider-Man will only be on the PlayStation. Only PlayStation users will have to look over their shoulders as they bring their children to school, waiting for that Spider-Menace to just whisk them away and eat them like he does.
That's a really friggin' weird flex on Sony's part. Like, I know that Sony still owns Spider-Man and owns the rights to it. And for, like, anything MCU, for Spider-Man to appear, there have to be rounds and rounds of negotiations. By negotiations, I mean money, yes, indeed. But negotiations over how much money. And so, like, but Sony owns it, so they're like, this character can only appear in our version of the game. It's like, what is this, fucking Soul Calibur?
Fie on you, Sony! Fie on you for not allowing that terror to be vanquished on more than one console. Because I am assured that he will certainly be a nemesis
what was the most
in Marvel
Soul
Avengers.
Calibur? Was it 5? It's been a while, right?
7.
Wow, I'm
7?
behind.
7. To the computer. Hang on.
All I know is I was watching an Unraveled on Polygon a couple nights ago, and he mentioned he was putting together the timeline of Legend of Zelda, and that's including all the weird stuff that Link has had cameos in, and he mentioned Soul Calibur. I'm like, I really want to play Soul Calibur 2 again.
6.
Soul Calibur 6 was the most recent. When did it come out? Open that tab back up, boy.
Didn't hear a please in there.
Open that tab back up, boy.
October 19th, 2018.
October 19th, 2018. Okay, so it's somewhat recent then. Okay, I'm just behind and haven't cared.
This game was not actually bad, and Geralt of Rivia was the exclusive character.
Huh.
Was the guest character.
That's cool. Geralt of Rivia as the guest character. I'm not sure how much the microphone is picking up, so I'm trying to repeat some stuff.
I am definitely positive if it can hear that damn carousel from across the mall, it can pick me up. So I'm very disappointed in you, Sony.
Wait. Okay, continue.
I'm also very surprised because everybody on the internet is collectively forgetting that Sony Pictures owns Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so all the titles are, why are we getting Spider-Man on Xbox? And it's one of those like,
Again, like, I totally understand it. It's just a weird fucking flex.
It is.
That Sony's like, oh, one of our babies owns this character, so we can dictate when they appear in a totally, like, in the video game version. By the way, y'all remember when we used the Spider-Man font for our console, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, and the thing that makes me laugh most about it is because the Marvel Avengers game is distinctively not the cinematic characters.
Yeah.
That's why Sony's like, yeah, no, you can't have him.
Yeah.
However, if it were...
well, the thing, even if it was the MCU characters, they would still have to negotiate for the appearance.
It would actually be covered under that. All tie-ins and subsidiaries when they did the agreement in the first place.
Okay, so it's covered by previous negotiations.
It's why we still have Spider-Man toys that have all the logos on them. Speaking of enormous gaffes and boo-boos and uh-ohs, Halo Infinite got something spoiled for the next generation, and it was due to one of those somebody listed something early.
Yep.
Halo Infinite multiplayer, another reason to run out and make sure your Xbox Series X is going to be pre-ordered, is that Halo Infinite is borrowing a model, a very successful model, from Fortnite, from Apex, from Warzone now.
From Warzone, yeah.
That it is going to be free to play as long as you have live.
Yep, yeah, and thank you for saying that, because it says, oh, free to play. It's like, well, you still need to have your live subscription up to date, which, again, they made more expensive because they got rid of the 12-month thing. I haven't followed up on that in the past couple weeks, but I imagine they haven't walked that back.
Nope. No, they have not.
Hold on. Recentering. Free to play for the multiplayer for Infinite. You want to play campaign, you're going to pay for the full game. And that's interesting because you pay $60 for Halo 5, and a lot of people are only paying that for the multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
But I bet that they are not going to lower that price if that is just the price for just single player. So, like, I'm still going to be paying that full $60 or maybe even $70 to play the single player of Halo Infinite. Even because I couldn't give a rat's ass about Halo multiplayer. I know I'm trash at it, and I don't feel like beating my head against the wall. Yes, Tom, you won the belt. You won that. You defended your title.
6/28/18, 75-32. Tom versus Boater. Tom still reigns as the Halo Insane.
What was the date on that for the last title match?
6/28/18.
6/20. Okay, so like 2 years ago, as of last week, was the last title match for that belt. And yeah,
I'm so glad you said that, so it doesn't seem mean for me to mention that it was literally like last week, 2 years ago.
Yeah, no, it was like he owned me. That's fine. I'm not good at Halo multiplayer. I'm good at Halo 1 multiplayer because I know those maps backwards and forwards, and it's some of the best couch deathmatch I've ever had in my life. But like online, no. There's always going to be people better than you online. Whereas in a room, I can be the best person in the room. On the internet, nope.
For me, the thing that I think they will be able to do is if they put Forge and Forge created modes as exclusive to the purchase.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
You will absolutely. I will buy that game if I just get access to Forge.
Slayer CTF would
Yep.
be would be your free to play modes, but if you want to play Griffball, you got to buy the game.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I have a feeling it's nothing confirmed, but if it actually happens,
Yeah.
you heard it first here on the Nerd Glasses.
And the listing also mentioned 120 FPS. And that's something where it's probably going to be like what Halo 5 did, where Halo 5 had a higher frame rate in multiplayer. Single player was maybe throttled to like 60, higher detailed, look pretty or whatever. Multiplayer, they nixed some of the detail, up the frame rate to, I don't know, 90 or something. I don't know off the top of my head. But it was a higher frame rate in multiplayer for the competitiveness, as well as like you're not in multiplayer for the scenery.
Huh. My friends and I chatting about this did not mention that, but where did you see that?
That is so that's conjecture. So the listing mentioned 120 FPS.
Okay. Interesting.
The conjecture about being slower in single player versus well, not slower, but a lower frame rate in single player, whatever. That was conjecture in the comments section. So that's hearsay. That's not confirmed. But that is something that Halo 5 did as far as like playing around with its frame rate depending on what mode that you're in.
Nice.
So yeah. So like I do movies and video and stuff, and I'm fine with 30 for that. 60 is good for gaming. More than 60, I'm like, really? That's just like the next level of like whipping your gamer penis out. Like, oh wow, look at how high resolution the textures are. Look at how many polygons are on this thing. I mean,
and
like,
then the marketing for is all they talked about was because it's a tagline for people to get excited about.
and the thing is that like yes, you especially now because actually there was a very visible difference between NES and SNES.
Yes.
There was a very visible difference between Xbox and Xbox 360. At launch, there was not a huge, without putting them next to each other, difference between Xbox 360 and Xbox One, PS3 and PS4.
Yeah.
If you look at it now and you look at a PS4 game and you look at something that came out middle of PS3, you're not looking at the difference in consoles. You're looking at the difference that 10 years in game design brings out. Each now it's like, oh, the consoles come out and they do all this cool stuff, and it's like a lot of these are going to be hard to measure subjectively.
Yeah.
As far as difference goes, it's going to be like benchmark wank, and which is fine, but it's another thing that's going to drive up the cost of game development, make it harder for indies to do their thing, and just make a worse value, whether it's a higher priced game or less stuff in the game when it gets delivered from AAA because it's just getting more and more expensive. Oh, wow, okay, that was a thing. What else you got?
So, a classic gaming regime is returning because I got a ton of messages from Microsoft about it, and they're super excited.
Recore! Dave, Recore's coming back.
Actually,
Dave, there's going to be cell bots locked up.
That's one of the next stories, but oh my heart. No. After 25 years, Battletoads will be returning to PC and Xbox One.
I told you about my Battletoads story, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Microsoft cannot wait for you to once again white knuckle and destroy a controller. The game obviously is not going to be as hard as the original Battletoads is or could be.
Well, you say that,
can't.
but I mean, like, there is a subset of people that want that really hard game.
Oh, yes. I don't think they can recreate it. I don't.
Okay.
But looking at the game, August 20th, I searched everywhere to see a speculative price so we could see whether or not it was dead to Dan. They are being very tight-lipped on whether or not it is going to be a $60 game or lower. It's not going to be $60, just looking at the art style and the fact that the trailer for that game mentioned, like, expensive AAA games, and if you're going to take a shot at it, you can't then turn around.
You can't then go ahead and be as expensive as the expensive AAA games.
Unless you're EA.
Squadrons is going to be $40, and every single time that I see something on Star Wars Squadrons, it looks better and better. Just saying.
Hoping they do justice to that game.
There were a bunch of YouTubers that are part of the EA Next or whatever, and so like got a lot of hands-on time with the game.
Good.
Eckert's Ladder is a big Star Wars YouTuber that got a lot of time with it, and yeah, he's had nothing but good things to say about it. It looks fantastic, and he's shared a lot of footage. You know, on his second channel, he talks some stuff that's a little more spoilery. I'm not going to look at that, but
I look eagerly forward to it being in my hands and not in the hands of people getting paid to play it. So, speaking of EA, 2K Games has recently, I talked about this over a month ago, got the license to make football games. The last 2K NFL game was ESPN NFL 2K5.
That's right, because they had
2004.
the ESPN branding with it. I forgot that.
Because they were no longer able to be soluble and to keep it there. So they are now in talks and have agreed upon a couple $2 million with the NFLPA.
And ESPN ate the Ocho.
And I'm looking forward to what they're able to create. However, it specifically stipulates that it has to be a non-simulation football game experience. So, Boater, you're 2K. You now have the likeness of 2,000 plus football players, but you can't make a straight-up football game. What are you making?
Dating simulator.
You making a dating sim?
I was hoping to get more of a reaction out of you.
Yuck. It's partially because a friendo of the program and a good friend of mine, Dr. Wiley, sent me a fact that Ringo Starr recently tweeted that he'd, for the first time, I guess, gotten on the internet and discovered what people do on the internet with things. And he was like, I don't like what you're doing with the Beatles, and I see you there, period. So,
hold on, he's new to the internet and he still uses "I see you there."
So
that was good.
After that, I was like, nope, because I don't want to think about Ringo Starr and pornography. Oh God, I've said it. So,
oh God, leave my
Chat,
Shiny
I would
Time
love
Station
to hear
host
what
alone.
you would think, what kind of game you would make. But I thought, you know what would be fun?
Racing game, like Mario Kart.
A super Bombad racer.
Yes!
With like Tom Brady with an enormous
just
head
the enormous
flying
heads
around.
going around. Like driving around in like a football on wheels, just around an oversized.
Yep. Yeah. A Tetris ripoff, because God knows those are coming in.
I mean, they're probably gonna make like a coaching sim or something, that whatever that was a few years ago, that there was the coaching simulator.
Maybe. My hope, honestly, is that they make something akin to NFL Street.
Well, there you go.
You can get away with the fact that it is not a professional organized sporting game. It's a backyard game, which is not the same.
Yeah.
And since they have all of the players' likenesses and things like that, they can make so many ungodly large teams, and they can get these players' inputs. I'm also, purely speculation and journalistic looking on my part, interesting that 2K went out of their way to get this deal done.
But then couldn't make an actual football sim.
Can't make an actual football sim for the NFL, but has all of the current NFL players. But the NCAA is looking to remake football games. And you know what would be really good if the NCAA paired with 2K to get all of those players that are now in the NFL that have gone through the NCAA system, who are presently and will be unable to cash in on their likenesses in this regard. And so they're not making an NFL game, they're making a college
That's
football
interesting
game.
because one of the things that always feels icky with college games is that the student athletes aren't supposed to be able to like cash in on their likenesses and stuff like that, and so they're just being used by corporate America to sell games. And so by using people that can, make bank on their licenses, but by making a college football game, that's a cool approach.
So
I mean, it's not confirmed. It's totally idle speculation and hearsay. But that'd be a really cool way to kill two birds with one stone.
It's what I'm
we
thinking.
We have the players' likenesses, and we want to make a college game.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other reason I'm thinking about those two is that the NCAA did change policy where players are now allowed to use their likeness to generate money, but they can't be in their current college uniform in those advertisements. But at the same time, doesn't change a difference because it doesn't matter what uniform Joe Namath was in. You were going to watch Joe Namath in whatever stupid commercial he was in. So I'm interested to see.
Yeah, I totally.
And especially with the fact that the Pac-12, which is one of the big college conferences, has announced not going to happen this year. So this would be a perfect way for them to get some income back into there without having to do things with the current players and under the current agreement. They could even grandfather in very sketchily, but into the previous agreement. I will table my two other ones, but I did have a smaller one. Emulator is kind of a bad word around these parts.
Yeah.
What were you gonna?
I was gonna ask if it was Death Stranding.
Oh shit! I'm very sorry, Death Stranding. We're just gonna have to fly you out again next week. But emulator is typically a bad word in this industry because they're honestly, a lot of them are very bad. However,
okay, so really quick with emulators. I'm generally okay with emulators because it is important to be able to play a game long after the hardware is no longer supported.
Yes.
That said, you talk about emulators around here, you're going to get dirty looks because, Dave, if you want to grab one of those, I assume that those are like the retro.
Well, actually, that's not even the reason they would get dirty looks.
Well, because, like, for instance, like here at Insane Games TV, because we are a store, it's Insane Games. Sorry, Muscle Memory adds the TV at the end. Oh, we sell these classic games. We sell that classic plastic, the cartridges, everything like that. We have the old consoles. He held up the NES and SNES before. And we do sell new hardware that can still play the old games. That said, I think that there is some, like, emulators fill a very important gap because movies, you can almost always watch, assuming that they keep releasing it onto the latest media, whatever. Or, like, there will be archival versions of media. Like, games, once, NESs are hard to come by, whatever, you can hold on to an archived cartridge of Tengen Tetris for as long as you like, but you can't actually experience it unless you have the hardware. So emulators fill a very important gap for archival purposes.
Just to addendum something, you would not get a dirty look for mentioning emulator in this store. You do get a dirty look when you act like an asshole in the store and you talk about how much cheaper it is to steal it online. That's when you start getting sideways looks in this store.
Yeah.
From current employees. So, as a way not to get sideways looks, PlayStation 3. The games are really hard to get. A lot of them are shovelware, but the good ones are fun to play, and I heavily recommend you check out your local game stores. But when inevitably you can't find that one that did not get mass distribution, be it because it was from a Japan exclusive and didn't get ported over in many places, but I highly recommend you check out RPC3. Founded in 2011, it is a PlayStation 3 game emulator. It's a tough thing. What I like about it, and I talked about this in past programs and on my streams, Sony is not going after them. They want you to be able to have that software for the Legacy Collection and things like that.
That's cool. Can I, really quick,
yes.
Is that, like, this discussion is kind of a cause of our rather broken copyright system and trademark system. Like, when it first came out, it was, like, protected for, 30 years or something.
Yep.
Now it's, like, death of the author plus 70 years. Like, how many things that are out there now, and just, like, if, for instance, Mary Shelley, the original Frankenstein.
Yes.
Whatever, has been republished. The text is out there. You can do whatever you want with it. You can read it. It's easy to do so. Whereas the God of War that came out on PS4 is not ever in our lifetimes going to expire its trademark and be free for people to just republish on their own onto whatever. Let alone the characters' trademarks being able to be used.
Yes. Trademarks are
Fuck
a
greedy
tricky
capitalism.
business.
It's all greedy capitalism. I'm sorry, you were going to continue on a point.
So Sony has not pursued
Right,
these
Sony's being
folks
chill about it.
because PS3 doesn't generate them any money, and they would rather people be able to play the software and enjoy it than not be able to enjoy it. That's save for Atlas Games and their Persona franchise, because Persona 5 was on the PS3, then ported to the PS4 and the Vita. They actually did a DMCA takedown on the Atlas Patreon, but fortunately were settled out of court and actually got absolutely binko when RPC3 and the board therein just went, okay, it's off the emulator, and they went, damn it! Like,
Yeah.
So to wrap it up really quickly, now that we're eating into overtime, RPC3N is going to be a simulator of the PS3 era PlayStation Network.
Nice.
It's not very good right now. I dipped my toes into it a little bit to try to play some of my favorite PS3 games online, such as Little Big Planet and all those maps everybody
Nice,
can make.
Yeah.
It's not great, but they're working on it because
it's got
it just
room
came
to get
out.
there, yeah. Especially when you're talking like anything network, anything of user community, whatever, it needs time to grow. Especially when it's not, a big console launch.
Oh, yeah.
Things need a little bit of time to grow. And so
Especially when it's crowdfunded, so it needs time to be able to...
it needs crowdfunding's interesting because it goes out to the backers, and that's like a launch right there, and then the community continues to grow. So it does get a bit of a shot in the arm at the start.
For distribution, but to get them funding, it trickles in.
Yes, yeah.
So, next week on Insane Games TV here on the Nerd Glasses, have I got a scandalous story for you guys about Riot Games' last premiere and the Saudi Arabian government. How are they linked? Hopefully I don't die before I talk about that story next week. And
if I'm hosting with an empty chair, we know who to blame. Riot.
Microsoft will, in fact, be once again in the hot seat because they're trying to get back into mobile gaming. We'll be talking about that and so much more next week on the Nerd Glasses. If you haven't yet, now is your chance while this program is live. Hit that follow button. We always love to hear from you guys. Thank you to everyone who has chatted.
Hit that bell for notifications too. You'll get a notification whenever we go live. After Nerd Glasses, the Citadel, we're changing a little bit. It is not going to be immediately after Nerd Glasses. What's going to happen is that we will be offline for maybe 20 minutes or so, and then that 10-minute countdown is going to start. Reason being, I am going to be broadcasting the Citadel from my home studio, aka my computer, and we are going to be playing 2 Human tonight.
Nice!
So I'm excited to get back to that again. So the stream will start. I'll give Demon Dragon a call while I'm on the way home and say, hey, I'm about 5 minutes from home. Can you start the 10-minute countdown? So probably 9 o'clock or shortly after for that. And then, of course, there's so many cool stuff the rest of the week, too. So make sure that you're following. In the meantime, everybody, I think that is going to be it for our broadcast tonight. It has been it's been a really fun time. We got a lot of good stuff. Dave, thank you for letting me rant about books and voice actors. And I'm happy that, I'm glad to have contributed some topics today. My poor notebook. And I look forward to hopefully you're able to be here next week to tell us about that link.
More fun, more adventures, and more programming than can one singular program. But for all of us here at Insane Games TV, I've been Dave Man.
And I've been Boater.
Have a great one. Bye!
Bye!